everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Creative Visions TV. I'm your host, Karen Dahlman, and today we have a really special guest because our lives have some really cool parallel things about them, especially our educational history and the things we like to choose to do with the unseen dimensions. So you can see her sitting here with me. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Amber Choisella. Welcome, Amber, to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Well, I'd love to start with, first of all, we know each other from a same Facebook group we're in, and shout out to, hey, Patrick Keller, the big seance. Woo, woo, woo. So we've known each other for several years, and I knew about her background. I don't think she was as clear on my background as hers, but why don't you tell the audience your background, where you come from, so you guys will understand how this conversation might go.
Yep. Okay. So I have a master's in mental health counseling. I am a licensed professional clinical counselor in California, and I'm also a spiritual medium. I've been practicing for over like 13 years. I got into spiritualism after I had a premonition, and then like hours after that premonition happened, me and my grandfather got in this big old car accident, and he ended up passing a few days after that. And someone was like, "You need to go like to a psychic group or like other people like you." And so I found spiritualism, and that's how my mediumship journey began. But I've always had abilities since I was a child, and so I do that. I do mediumship and I do counseling.
So you guys, the background we have the same. I'm also a licensed professional counselor. I mentioned it to you guys before. I don't practice right now, hang a shingle, but I have my licenses since the 90s. I go way back. Okay. And also a registered and board certified art therapist. And you guys heard me talk about this before. I was super excited to have Amber on because after you guys heard Claire Broad, the medium, who talked about soul contracts and twin flames and her experience with it. Well, Amber and I started to have a conversation, and I found it really fascinating to hear her angle as a therapist, a clinician, but also as somebody who's also experiencing some of this twin flame phenomenon. But before we get into that, I also, you know how I am. I want to ask my guests what they think about the unseen dimensions and spirit communication and Ouija boards and tools. And so, Amber, what's your take on, like, let's say the tools that we use to communicate with the unseen dimensions?
Yeah, they're tools. You just have to know how to use them. I've had experiences with the Ouija, and it wasn't bad, but I was communicated with something. I don't know what it was, but I'm a believer. I work with the tarot too.
Ooh.
And
wait, show that again. What deck is that? Let's see that up close. Everybody likes to see this stuff.
Yeah, and I wish I would have gone back to that.
We all love our tools here.
I know. This is called the Modern Goddess deck.
Ooh.
And it's women of color. Oops, it's women of color.
Oh my gosh, yes. Was that the devil?
Yeah, it's the devil. It's very sexified and woman empowering.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The modern goddess, it looks like this.
Very beautiful.
And then I have my pendulum that was gifted to me years ago when I started my mediumship journey.
Keep holding that up for a second. You guys, this is a star tetrahedron. You've heard me talk about this before. It's actually two platonic solids. Well, one platonic solid repeated twice, which is the tetrahedron, superimposed and becomes a star. Almost like a four-dimensional or three-dimensional, four-dimensional Star of David, star tetrahedron, but it's a very powerful symbol. And I actually have a necklace I wear that looks like that. I was telling Amber earlier. That is a great pendulum. Now, do you use pendulum with your clients, or how do you use it? Or when do you use it?
I don't. I used to use it. So I just keep it here, but I usually just use tarot.
For your readings?
For my readings outside of mediumship, yeah.
Okay, so this is interesting. As a therapist, have you ever brought in like maybe tarot cards or oracle cards or any of these tools into your practice?
Not yet, but they're literally on my desk. And so if I'm working with a client right now who speaks energy language, and so I've talked about some of the tarot energies, but I haven't actually brought it out, but it's a possibility. I can integrate it in my practice.
I think it's a great idea. Carl Jung used to bring through a lot of things of these kind of this nature of this kind of stuff to his clients, almost using it as a Rorschach kind of test. But it's more
Mhm.
like you can use them to start communicating. You know how people read, you start bouncing your ideas off of that
Yep.
card image, what it means to them.
Yep.
And I could see also stories being told. I mean, boy,
Yep.
I could see it being used many ways, many ways. That's
Mhm.
cool. Yeah. So you have them there when they come to your office and they may see them.
Well, my office is virtual. Uh,
Oh, you're on Zoom.
yeah, it's on Zoom. That way I can like reach out of all of California and eventually all the Pacific Northwest and maybe Arizona and Nevada too. But so I'm not just conditioned in one area, if that makes sense.
I think it's fantastic that we've been able to take these tools, and I do readings, I was telling you earlier, and I can be in my home doing the readings, whether it's through my website or through a platform I work on. No platform on is Everclear, but it's great. I know the platforms they do for therapists too. Those are really cool because you can get help in the comforts of your own home. So you
Mhm.
guys, if you ever need a therapist, look that kind of those platforms up because it's super easy and helpful to be, get that work done now. When I was practicing in the 90s, early
Didn't have
2000s, you
that.
definitely had to go in person to the
Yep.
office. And yeah, there was a lot involved there. So I really appreciate that you're doing it the new way.
Post-COVID way.
Yeah, COVID changed everything for us, didn't
Everything. Yeah.
I hate the COVID part, but I love the part of how we use technology
Change.
now.
Change.
Yeah,
Yes. It's great. Yes.
it is. Okay, so
Yeah.
tell me. Okay. First of all, let's get into this twin flames. Let's start coming to this conversation now. So what is your interest in that as a clinician?
Okay. So I want to know if people are fantasizing about it or they're actually dealing with a true divine counterpart. I mean, oftentimes from what I've been seeing with my spiritual clients is that they're dealing with a karmic partner, which is also a spiritual connection. It's different from that of a divine counterpart, aka twin flame. Twin flame is very commercialized, that term, when it's just your divine counterpart that you're interacting with. And so most of the time, I come across a lot of people with karmics, which is fine. And I just educate them about how that's different than an actual divine counterpart. And I found that to be more helpful because at first, on my own journey, I was told to share my journey, and then I was doing readings, and then what I came across was that people were getting that confused. So I was like, I need to do more education about this. People say there's shadow work that's actually wounding that's coming up that they need to work through. Right. So I can use the dark night of the soul. I can use shadow work into therapeutic processes that we do. So it won't turn me off if people start talking about, oh, my twin flame. I'm like, oh, tell me more. Because they have no idea. I have my own experience with it.
Okay, see, here she's dangling it for us, and Claire got into that on her show too. So, do I ask about getting into more personal experiences now with this?
Oh,
Because I
yeah.
really think this is important for people to hear different angles to this,
Mhm.
but just to clear up some of the misinformation out there. And we're going to talk about that in a second about some big misinformation out there. But
Yes.
yeah, but I'd like to hear more personally from
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, as you were traversing this whole twin flame concept and
Yes.
experience.
Oh, yeah. So I shared my journey. Like I said, spirit guided me to share. So I started sharing. I met my divine counterpart in October of 2019. And it was really interesting because it was a full moon. It was the 13th, and both of our birthdays were on the 26th. So half of 26 is 13. And
I didn't see it until you said it. Wow. Okay. Okay.
okay. And when I met him, he came and gave me a hug, and then he walked away from me to go get some coffee. And when he walked away, his energy stayed with me. And as a medium, I understand energy. So I'm like, my soul has loved that soul before.
Oh my
I
God.
understand the concept of twin flame. I just knew like higher level soulmate for sure. And then he disappeared like not too long after. And then I'm like, what is going on? But like a year prior to that, Spirit told me something about a twin flame, and I didn't understand at that time. I was like, what does that even mean? So I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna put it in the back here. And so then I realized that, and I'm like, oh, you're triggered. Oh, you have some wounds that you got to work on. Okay, so I'm gonna give you space while you run. I'm gonna deal with whatever's coming up for me, my own wounding of abandonment. I was in therapy, so I was able to talk to my therapist about it. And I'm like, look, I'm actually also a medium. Like, I don't want you to think that I'm crazy. Like, I
Right.
know, and I felt energy, and she's like, I don't think you're crazy. And so we went through all the stages, and when I found union within myself, that just opened up so much for me. And then I felt his energy shift. And so then I was like, okay, I know that we're going to be together. I don't know when. And I would see signs all the time. And I'm like, okay, it's coming. And then it happened. And so I told my therapist, you know, the whole thing. And I'm like, I just feel crazy. She was, you're not crazy. You're intuitive. I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skills.
That. Oh, I also didn't tell you, I'm an Aquarius and he's a Gemini. So like we're both air signs.
That's right.
It's wild.
Okay, so my question, okay, so before we go further in this, okay, I got my questions, you guys. The questions you probably want to ask too. Okay, so what's the difference now between you felt you weren't sure what to call it just yet, but as you progress, how did you know it wasn't just a soulmate versus a twin flame?
Because it was a different type of feeling. You know how people be like, when you meet the one, you just know. It was something like that, but like I kind of compare it to the love I have for my grandmother. I have a long sleeve right now, but I have a portrait of my grandmother tattooed on my arm. And I love her more than anything in this entire universe. It's a different type of love. Even the love I have for my twin sister is different. The love I have for him is just different. It was just, my soul recognized him immediately. Even though I didn't know what the term was, my soul recognized it. So I accepted it. I was like, oh, okay. So my soul's telling me something, so I'm gonna listen. I'm not gonna be like, I think maybe. No, it was an absolute for me when I met him.
Okay, so sometimes I have experience with people and I will meet them and it doesn't matter what gender, it doesn't matter, it's male, female, and pets and animals too sometimes. You just feel such a connection to them.
Yeah.
And I go, well, that's like a soulmate of mine, but I can tell you soulmates push you to grow and learn too. So I'm trying to understand myself what would be the different, like if anybody, like you guys are wondering too, if you're out there hanging out with these people and you might have somebody you're dating, or you may have a really good friend or even a twin flame and a real twin in your life, how are they going to know that degree of difference? Does it take a while? Is it a process?
I really direct people back into their soul and their higher self and getting that answer from themselves. Nobody should tell you what type of connection you have. Your higher consciousness should be able to communicate with you. And if you don't have that yet, guess what? It's the perfect time for you to develop that relationship. I'm a strong believer in like no codependency. Let me teach you how to do it yourself.
Yes. Self-responsibility and taking and learning to take care of yourself, learning to love and take care of yourself and listening to yourself. Learning to find out what resonates and feels real for you right here in the heart. So we talk about this on the channel. I'm glad you brought that up. That's so important because there's so much, we were saying earlier, misinformation about stuff out there. And I think I think you hit the nail on the head. For me, it's ultimately, I can listen to everybody tell me what this means and that means, and even my training and this and that. It's what feels, people go, here's a good example. How do you know you're talking to so-and-so on the board or the guides? Because I know in my heart, I feel it. Like you said, your grandmother on your sleeve, who's on your sleeve now, but your grandmother who was in your life, that you just know. And it's I know, and I know on the board. So I understand that knowing. And it's, so it comes from beyond just somebody telling you, it's you understanding it. And it becomes from such a deep level, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It burns in a beautiful way inside.
That's right.
Like it grows. So but being with soulmates too, twin flames, there's always a lot of push for growth.
Oh God, yes.
Okay, so talk to us about that.
Oh God, it is
It
people,
can be
I feel
hard.
like people fantasize about what yin looks like, physical yin. And it is challenging because you're like looking at a mirror of yourself. It's like that yin and yang energy. And they push you to like be better versions of yourself and vice versa. And I mean, it can make or break people, but that's what the growth is what makes you stay together. The growth that you do together. And I'm learning a lot more about myself in this relationship with him that I've ever have.
That's great.
And I'm not going to say he completes me because nobody completes me. I complete myself. Okay.
Okay, guys, okay, we got to talk about that some more. You guys hear what she said. Say it again, please, Amber.
No, he does not complete me. Okay. I'm already completed before he came into my life.
That's key. It's not 50-50. I need so-and-so so I can feel better. I've got to feel whole here
Right.
for that to come in on that level. Is that not right? That's what
That's
Claire
right.
was telling us in the other episode as well. This is what I've learned about these things. It's not trying to get somebody to make you feel better or give you the love or this or that, although they can. It's just the fact that you're 100%. And that kind of gets us into this conversation too, that goes parallel with the idea of twin flames, is the divine masculine and divine feminine.
Oh yeah. So
Please take it away, Amber.
it's gender neutral. It's not yeah, him
Right.
and her. It's not that. And we actually both have those energies within us already. At some points, one's going to be higher than the other. Like when I know when I'm like my masculine is too high, he helps me even it out. When it's like real toxic high, like bring it down. So the yin and yang, it goes back to like that yin and yang energy, but it's gender neutral. Okay. Energy does not have any gender to it.
That's right.
It's just the energy.
And we all have, as you just said, the masculine and feminine principles. I like to call it that within us, which is the yin yang principles. And we all have this. It's not like you have to line one way or the other. In fact, you tend to go, like you just said, it'll shift and change. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to be the divine feminine now, and I'm going to forget the masculine. Then what you do is you go, oh, everything's just perfect and great and not bad. I mean, there's light and dark, up and down, back and forth, good and bad, all those things. And so we have to look at it this way. But each of those principles has a unique form of characteristics that encompass them or comes within them. And so you see the masculine energy is more assertive, aggressive, getting out there. That's necessary for everybody, right? It doesn't matter what gender, sex, or whoever you are. And the ones that the feminine energy is more for embracing, holding within and comforting, nurturing. And that's very simplistic, you guys. I do talk about this in this book, The Spirit of Alchemy, all about the masculine and feminine principles and how it comes together in your own alchemical form to create the philosopher's stone within your life. But that's another story. So, but it's important to address this so we all understand here that it matters how we have those own concepts within us flowing, the yin yang, masculine, feminine energies, and allowing that to work with these other people in our lives, twin flames we're talking about right now, or it could be soulmates or just your friendships with people. So that's key. So do you see this interplay? It sounds like you said a little bit with your twin flame. Do you see where he sees it? Is it like pretty mutual? Do you have that conversation about these different dynamics?
Yeah, I remember asking him if he's like, what kind of relationship do you think we have? And he's like, soulmates. Like, we're soulmates. And I'm like, no, never heard of twin flames. And he's like, twin flames. I don't know. Just recently, he sent me like a TikTok of twin flames. I was like, really, dude? Are you serious? So like since day one, we have practiced telepathy. Is that telepathy? Okay. And we still do that now. And so I'll be like, can you stay out of my mind? Can you stop? Because that's weird. It's not weird. It's natural. But he's also intuitive, but he hasn't developed. He doesn't want to develop. I'm like, what a gift you would be to the world if you were just to develop. But I'm in your face on the camera and he's behind the scenes. Like I don't want anyone seeing me. I don't want to be part of anything up here. And so, yeah, we talk about meditating a lot. We talk about being intentional. We do affirmations. Yeah, he's seen me demonstrate mediumship as well. He's always super supportive. He believes in me, even when I feel like I have imposter syndrome sometimes because I'm not perfect. He's always rooting for me.
That's nice. And so I think along the lines of when you talk about the twin flame concept is that there's a first, I mean, you said it, you just know it, you feel it. There's this mutual understanding. And I remember Claire mentioning this too, what you just said. There's like these telepathic messages of reading each other's minds. It's like so profound. You're like, what? And having things line up, like you said, with like the dates, the numbers, and some weird stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, how the universe communicates with us.
There's so much synchronicity, right?
So much synchronicities. Yeah. Yes.
So when you guys are out there looking at your relationships, it's not like you have to strive to have this. I'm from the belief system that you may not have it in this life. I can't say I've had it in this life. Okay, you guys, I'm right there. Okay. So, but I can say I've definitely had some incredible, powerful relationships, and also some soulmate kind of relationships that have really pushed me into growing and to becoming the person I am. And I'm very thankful for them. I'm not saying push me in a great way, a very painful way often.
Yeah.
So I just think it's important to know that this is not a concept that everybody has to even embrace or even believe in. You'll know when it happens. And there probably are even more words to explain this than we're even capable in our own language. I'm hearing that right now from the guides. They're talking about the idea of feeling it, and that it's really knowing the God within through another person and knowing their God within. So they're saying to tell them about this. This is something they've been talking about, and they're saying, talk about it now. So you guys, it's something that we have to look at. And I love that you said it's really finding that balance within ourselves, and also trusting ourselves and going with what we are 100% and clear in that. Then all this magical stuff happens when you could find the God within yourself, meaning you start to, you're not perfect. I'm not saying that, guys. It means that you can start finding the source of all that is within yourself, and doesn't mean doesn't mean we're perfect, just means we can recognize that. You start to recognize other nuances, subtle nuances in your relationships with people. So if I'm hearing you correctly too, Amber, it's a journey and a process to understanding. Like you said, you kind of met it and it didn't happen right away, and then it came back later because you had premonition or intuitive abilities.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think it's important to think about, you guys, your intuition is going to tell you a lot of things, and we just got to learn to start trusting that.
Exactly. It's just a relationship, just like any other relationship, but you have higher consciousness of what's happening with the purposes and the journey of it.
Yes. And that's when you start putting the pieces together and go, that's not just coincidence.
Right.
These things align. I don't believe in it. Really, I don't believe in coincidence at all.
I don't either. I don't either.
But we all want to go, did that really just happen? Oh, that's just fun. I'm just fortunate. No, it's synchronistic. Yeah. Right. So we talk a lot about that kind of concept on here, to start looking at those connectives, the connections in our lives, and how we are connected to almost everything. So it's pretty cool.
Yes.
So I think Amber and I talked about this right before the show started, and let's do it. Let's tell them what our thoughts are about that show, Twin Flames Universe. I think it's called Escaping Twin Flames Universe. So, Amber, what would you like to say? I'll dive. I got a lot to say.
It's a cult run by a narcissist.
That's it. Bing. It's a cult, you guys. C-U-L-T, not occult. C-U-L-T. It's a cult by narcissists. And I did get to watch the expose, the 3 series, and I watched it because Amber was coming on the show, and I want to make sure I saw what they were doing. And if any of you guys are trapped in that, you just, you know what, find a way out, because what they do in there is they use manipulation, coercion, and they tell you who you are. Yeah. Always run for the hills, guys. They tell you what divine energy you are, which nobody could do that ever, because we have it fluctuating within ourselves. And they tell them how to do it, when to do it, and they control you. That's a cult.
Yes. And they prey on people's vulnerability and weaknesses trying to find love, trying to find their true love, their twin flame. And that's the saddest part to me.
Yeah.
You can't seek that. If it's going to happen in this lifetime, it's going to happen, period. That's it. Learn how to love yourself. What you're seeking out is what you need to find within.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, they are a hot fucking mess.
She said it.
I have a personality for it. I could not. My personality and just like my knowledge on that bullshit, I could not get with that. They tell people to pursue their twin flames by all means necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they blocked you? Oh, show up at their house. Oh, they put a restraining order on you? Keep going. What is that? That is insane.
It's insane. It's insanity. And they're even telling people to change their genders based upon what they tell them they need to be, not who the person feels like they are. Big difference. So it's just total control. It's a bunch of bullshit. And I saw it and I was just appalled. I was actually disgusted by it, you guys. I was super like, what? I hadn't heard about that. I don't go searching that stuff because I really don't care. As I said, you can have many fantastic relationships, many different soulmates come in and out of your life, and you can still find love within. And the greatest love, really, what's the whole idea of twin flames anyway? It's that they're coming back to that whole divine love that you started with, and so you can find that within yourself too.
That's true.
So,
absolutely.
Isn't it? So yeah. So we wanted to bring that up to you guys in case you guys are watching that show or you haven't seen it. I think it's on Netflix and Hulu. Yeah, but there's one on Hulu too, I think. There's two of them. So I know Netflix for sure because I watched that one, but there's another one that I started checking out. I think it was Hulu. No, Prime. It's
on Prime? There's another one on Prime.
It's on Prime. You guys check it out. What I'll do, I'll go look it up again, you guys. I'll put the links below to where you can watch it, but I highly say watch it so you can educate yourself. And anybody that is watching that got stuck in that cult or any other cult, again, there's a way out, and the way out is always to trust your inner self, and you know when it's not right, and just start listening to that. Because what happens, and this is common for people, I'm not going to say this is bad or good or what. I'm not going to judge it. It's just that we can sometimes become codependent. There's that word you used earlier, to not believe in ourselves. So we need somebody else to help us and tell us what to do. And then when they help us, then all of a sudden we let them in to keep telling us and controlling us, and it gets harder and harder. And that's kind of how cults work. They start whittling away at your own self-worth and self-esteem and self-knowing. So there is a way out.
And that's the traumatic experience too. So if you find yourself in a cult, seek professional help.
I agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. And look, you got Amber here, who is a psychotherapist, clinician. I'm not currently practicing, but people like that is who you need to talk to get the deprogramming and to find yourself again. Because it really does a mind fuck. Okay, I said it. It does a mind fuck, you guys. And it's just so disgusting. And I know you've been talking about with one of your colleagues the show as well.
Yes, we did a show about it, and it was before we even knew this was going to come out, and she just went on a rant.
Yeah,
synchronicities. I'm telling you. Yeah. I have the link on my Instagram, Blossom and Rise. I forgot to tell you guys what my spiritual business is called. It's Blossom and Rise. And if you go to my Instagram in my bio, click the link. I have the link embedded in there, so you can check out the episode if you're interested in hearing two therapists talking about it. But it's
you can watch the rant of what you guys said about it, right? Yeah. Okay, I love it. You guys, links will be below. Everything we talk about, because we're gonna be talking about how to get a hold of Amber and all that stuff too. The links will be below, and she said her business is right, Blossom and Rise, which is beautiful, right? Is that right? Blossom and Rise. Okay. Yeah. And you also have a Facebook page too, where people could join you there.
Yep, Blossom and Rise.
And she does a lot of talks on there.
YouTube.
Yeah. YouTube. Okay. Cool. So, hey guys, those links will be below. So this is Boy, it's such a fascinating topic because you can go in so many different directions with it. And I think the main thing we wanted to share was like, let's get through some of the falsities to it, as we discussed on a different episode with Claire Broad. But also, here's somebody who has a different angle, which is Amber, to what Claire was experiencing. Claire's was not a romantic relationship twin flame where yours is.
Mhm.
So do we get to choose that? I mean, how does that happen? I mean, Claire's is not.
I believe that it's arranged pre-birth. Like
Hmm.
my understanding. Okay, so
Yeah,
let me
let's get into this understanding how this works,
So
because I also want to get into twins since you are a twin, but let's.
that's where I'm going to start. Okay, so
Oh,
because because I am a twin, I have a fraternal sister, right? So our beginning happened with two eggs, one sperm, right? Two
yeah.
sperm, one
Two
two
sperms and
eggs.
two eggs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So two eggs, okay, versus identical is one egg. But if you look at it at a fraternal side, then that means that the two energies were created at the same time of existence, right? So that makes it two separate souls. But then there's a lot of people that believe twin flames are just one soul split into two, which I'm kind of like, okay, that could be. And if you want to talk about multi-dimensional existence, that makes sense too. So it's kind of really whatever brings truth to you. And if that's the case, then that's already like prearranged. I mean, it would make sense for the two souls that have been created together to know that their souls are together and have traveled throughout many lifetimes. Sometimes they're incarnate together, sometimes they don't. But I understand that everyone has a divine counterpart. It's not just lucky people that have it, but we just don't experience it in one single lifetime, if that makes sense.
Wow. Yes, it does.
Okay.
And I like to talk about because I'm trying to think, have we gone into this next channel? I'm thinking probably a long time ago, you guys. So it's good to review this again. Is the idea of how we co-create, craft our incarnations here in the
Yep.
in-between lives. And I can
Yep.
tell you from my experience as a hypnotherapist, I used to do past life readings as part of my psychotherapy bag of tricks. I wouldn't tricks, but definitely they help people.
Yeah.
I would ask them to follow back that pain or that experience or depression before it started, and it started going into past lives. It even went into in between lives, and they would start talking about how they were creating those experiences in this incarnation, which weren't always positive, which would be positive or negative. It just, whatever it is, created the experience their soul could grow, and they were actually
That's right.
working with other souls, right? Is that your experience with this?
Yep. Uh-huh. Yep. And that's how I feel like with karmics, like karmics, soulmates, twin flames, they're all part of the soul group. Like, so they're all like soulmates and we help each other. And so sometimes those lessons, those karmic lessons are really difficult, but they're necessary for our souls to grow or for our souls to learn a lesson or for us to balance out karma between other souls and ourselves. So there's always a purpose to everything, even if we can't understand it in this conscious moment.
Yeah. And that gets hard because when we have such hard stuff in our life, we're like, no, no, I didn't create that. Well, it's not so much creating, it's like agreeing so you can help the souls grow. And when we're in that in-between state, we're like, we don't think about the pain that our physical body might feel here.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not to, this is never to shame anybody or blame you for what happened. It's just to say there's been some experiences here that were crafted to help our souls grow, if we can look at it that way. So look at it loosely and listen, by all means, whatever we're saying here today, as we said earlier, if it doesn't resonate,
yeah, that's fine.
That's okay, because we all have, we think, oh, it's a cookie cutter thing for each person. And I'm here to say it's not. We have very much different energies coming into us. We may look a lot alike, the 5-star being with our legs and arms and our head, but we have so much more energies coming in that we don't even have a clue when we say, oh, that person should do that. That person did that. That person, we don't know. It's like, you can't talk about the person until you walk a mile in their shoes. I'm going to say you can't talk about the person unless you are their soul, because we have so many energies coming at ourselves. And so to me, when I think about this empowers me to give me a way to say, all right, that really sucked today. and there's some bad experiences I've had in my life. I'll admit that. But to say even a bad experience that, you know, something went wrong that day or you lost your job or something and to go, this really sucks. The thing is, okay, now how can I empower myself to see this as a opportunity?
Right. Yeah. When one door closes, another one opens. But it's hard to see that.
It
But when
is.
change happens, it's really hard to trust that because we don't know what's happening. We don't know what's getting ready to happen. We don't know why it happened. But in hindsight, there's always a reason. Even
Yeah.
if you don't know it in this lifetime, in between lives, we'll know.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point because you don't always know in this life. Even if you're working
Right.
with a psychotherapist trying to figure it out, you may
Yep.
still may not come to that resolution, and that's
Right.
fine. You guys,
Yep.
life is a mystery. That's what this is all about. Now we got to go back to the whole twin thing, okay? I got to tell you some information, Amber. The guide
Okay.
shared, yeah, the guide shared this with. Let me see. Rodney and I were using the board. This is probably about, I want to say it was 2017 or 18. We had this crew filming us for this documentary that was produced in Australia. And they were at my house, and there's several of them that came over and they were filming us, and some really interesting circumstances happened during the filming. But after we were done filming, we sat down at my table and I said, would you all like a reading from the guides? And they said yes. So we sat down at the table and we had the board, and we're because it was all about the Ouija board, you guys, of course. So we're doing a message for them, and I just, everybody said, if you got a question you can ask, and one guy said, no, just let them give me a message, and they did, and it was very short and sweet, and I said, that's it? And the guy goes, I fully got it. So the message I want to tell you, which is really interesting about the twins, one of the gals sitting there said, I am a twin. And she said, she goes, I just want to know what that's about. And the guide said, well, that is you as a soul experience yourself 2 times in this life. So you have a greater breadth of experience to witness. And it has to do with identical twins. And we're like,
They were identical twins.
I'd never heard that before. And then the guys were like, when'd you drop this? The guides we're like, and Rodney and I still talk about this. We're like, what the hell? Yeah. So, and she was like, that makes sense because those, I don't know about fraternal, but you know, identical twins. I've had a lot of friends like that. There's some in my family too. They finish each other's sentence. They know the thoughts, just like you're talking about twin flames.
Yep.
The soul completion.
Yep.
And the guide said, and when one of you goes before the other, like transition into the afterlife, that you will feel everything. You'll feel a rush of energy come right back into you, as if she's back with you internally.
I believe that. Remember, I said it was like, or it could be a multi-dimensional experience because anything's possible.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. So they talk about sometimes you have twin flames. I've heard this before, in a parallel dimension. So let's just keep this open. So let's say your soul had this complementary soul, or this complementary part of itself experiencing itself in another dimension. And so I haven't had that experience, but I've read about it, I've heard about it, and this brings in the whole idea of that you may not be right here in this incarnation again with your so-called twin flame, but trust me, it's still there. That aspect is still there somewhere.
Yes, I can believe in that too. I believe in that too, actually. Yeah, parallel universes, dimensions. There's so much in the universe that we don't even understand that can.
No. And just when I think I'm trying to label it and list it, and then all of a sudden I get this rogue thought or rogue channeling or rogue comment that comes through and says, have you thought about it this way? And I'm like, oh, it just, everything, the walls keep coming down or expanding. And then one of the things the guides like to tell us is that, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier about the language barrier, we may not even be explaining this concept of the twin flames in the best language we can.
Right.
Because our language may not communicate that. I think there may be that in some other cultures with some of maybe the light language does. You were talking about a client who does, was it light language, you said?
Oh, I was just saying we talk energy language as far as
energy language. Okay.
But I know I'm familiar with light language as well.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. And some of you guys out there, you might have your own tastes and thoughts on this. So please, in the comment section, love to hear your take on this twin flame concept. Again, I think we're trying to define something that could still not be fully defined. I mean, I'm bringing people on that have thoughts about it. And that's why, we've got Amber here today too, to hear her take on it. Now, do you find this comes up in your work with your clients, mediumship, and also with the psychotherapy?
Yeah, sometimes people will book me for mediumship and they don't want mediumship. And then like before I meet with them, I'll have an inclination like they don't know what mediumship is. They're just gonna talk to me about the twin flames. And I'm right. Clients, not yet. I had a colleague who told me that her client was talking about twin flames, and so I had to sit down and break it down with her what they were talking about. It didn't sound like they were actually interacting with their divine counterpart, more of a karmic. But I haven't had one yet, personally, in my private practice yet.
Okay. And I'll tell you, when I do psychic readings, one of the big questions, especially on my platform when I take the calls, it's about relationships. It's definitely about my soulmate or twin flame. And so and I think what's more important to we just want to bring this information forward and let you know where there's a lot of misinformation around it. But what's more important, and I think that my big takeaway from these kind of conversations is to really look at what definition wise, what do you resonate with, but also in your life, not trying to put it into a box. That this is all that it can be, right? So I love that Amber's sharing information with us about her experience. Other people have written in the last episode I had about their stuff. And I think it's good to hear from everybody because we have our own experiences to try to help shape this and understand it, but yet it has no shape. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It can go a lot of different dimensions, directions that we've mentioned, multidimensional, the soul splitting, maybe if identical twins, maybe it's parallel lives, maybe it happens in between lives. I mean, there's so many levels here. So don't think you're not ever gonna have some experience like this. I don't think I'm not ever going to. I'm just open to whatever incarnation and whatever dimension it needs to happen.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Don't seek. Will happen, will happen. Looking for love, start on that journey within yourself. Because you're not going to find it outside yourself. It's never going to happen.
You'll be disappointed in people that come to you because you're thinking they're not giving me enough to fill me up.
That's right. And they never will. All they'll be doing is teaching you more lessons until you learn the lesson of self-love.
And isn't that really what life is about? You guys, when you think of you break it down, it's about learning to love. Learning to love. And where does love start? It's got to start with the self.
Yep.
Because it's hard to give if you're not feeling that yourself. You feel always empty. It doesn't mean like you're not going to have the imposter syndrome you mentioned earlier. Doesn't mean you're going to feel like, oh, I've got some failures or I have struggles with this. It just means that you're appreciating yourself, loving yourself to be able to take those steps forward in whatever direction you want to go.
Yep. And we all have that potential and that capability to do that.
We do.
I mean, we're human. We want companionship. That's natural. Yeah. But don't seek love because you're never going to find what you need. Love yourself, and then you'll be able to come in alignment with what you're searching, what you're not searching for, but what you're attracting. Okay,
so here I'm gonna throw a curveball here. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Here we go. Here we go, you guys. All right, so if that's given and you're really trying to find it within yourself, the wholeness, the self-love, and you go, but God, no relationship's coming. Does that mean you did something wrong?
No, I don't think so.
What would you say about that?
Well, if we talk about, okay, so let's say I'm happy, I'm single, and I'm wanting to mingle. Well, if you're going to manifest anything, you have to co-create with the universe, right? So you have to do your part. So if you're happy within yourself, everything is good, you're just looking for a companion, put yourself out there to date.
Yeah.
Be open to dating. Be open to who you will encounter. Don't just be picky, like, oh, I want this type of person that looks like this, that makes this type of money, da, da, da. No, that has to go out the door. You have to be fully open. And just know that you're going to attract what it is that you want.
That's very well said. It's like, I think so often we just expect it to come and we don't do anything about it. Got to get out there. Got to take chances and risk. And, yeah. And you know what? It's okay. And it's like not to get out there to go, I'm going to go find my soulmate twin flame. I'm going to
No.
go find the right person for me that's going to
Yes.
be whatever, respectful, loving. And I'll tell you what, you guys, here's a secret here. If you love yourself first and you know your boundaries, what you're going to accept and
Yep.
not accept, that's where you start.
Yes.
Somebody shows up and you go, I'm not for a smoker. I mean, I'm just giving an
Yeah.
example. Then don't date that person. Don't even go down that path. Follow those boundaries you have, and you will find that it'll help you get through the system. Did you know we're going to be like dating experts here? We're talking about dating, you guys.
I know.
But this is part of what people do when they search, like that university, twin flame university program
Mhm.
was about people searching to find that love, and they
Right.
really manipulate people because everybody's looking for, everybody wants to be loved. That's normal. It's
Yeah.
human. Yeah.
Companionship.
Right.
Mhm.
Relationship, companionship. So that's where it can scarily be manipulated. That's what they did. But if you go down that path and go, these are my boundaries, this is who I am, I'm not gonna accept this, but then let the universe unfold.
Yep. Yep.
Let it
That's
be
right.
one of the
That is
best ways
right.
to do it. Now,
Yes.
you've shared a lot with us. This is a fun conversation, you guys. I hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're enjoying Amber too. Okay, so they can find you again. Tell us the areas, and you guys, all links will be below.
Mhm. So Blossom and Rise. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. YouTube on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can hop on and watch me demonstrate mediumship and just come hang out with me. And my private practice is called Healing with Amber, but I'm only licensed in California at this time.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, and I was licensed, you guys, in the states of Texas and Oregon. That's where I was practicing, those two
Oh,
states. I never practiced in California, and now I'm in Arizona. So yeah, you guys, it gets complicated. They're really, this is what's so good about if you have some issues like trying to get out of a cold or just depression or whatever, to go to somebody who's really licensed, because it's very strict on your
yes.
training, your credentials, your abilities to work with people without countertransference and all these issues and problems. So I highly recommend going to a trained, registered, licensed clinician.
Yeah.
That is my say. That's my
Yes.
waiver.
Yes. We spent a lot of time and education experience to get to the ability to treat others at this level. So yeah, I mean,
That's serious training and practicum and internship and
yeah.
licensure. Yeah, it's pretty
Yes.
extreme. I heard when I was taking the LPC in Texas, I had psychologist friends who said, I could pass the psychology exam, but I couldn't even pass the LPC. Uh-huh. They said it was even harder than sitting for the boards for psychology. I'm like, what?
The
Yeah.
LPCC license is fairly new in California. I had to do, it took me like almost 6 years to get all of my hours
Oh yeah.
after I graduated.
It's intense. I've looked at it. Yeah, they should be. It's very intense. Yeah. So people said I couldn't get the LPC, so I went on and got my PhD. It was easier. Like, yeah, no joke. It's funny.
That's wild. Yeah, no,
That's
no more
crazy.
academia in that field for me. And I'm burned out. Good.
Well, and you know what's really cool? You guys check out her. She has a website. The links will be below. But I want you. I'll give you the link to it. But check her out because that's expanding. Her website's expanding, and she's got some new things coming up. But you want to get on her website to see what's coming up for her, and then join her. And you said YouTube. Is it also on Facebook or just YouTube?
I have YouTube, I mean, Facebook too, but I'm not as active
Okay,
on
we'll get you
Facebook.
the YouTube links, you guys. I highly recommend watching her. She's just good at what she does. And, we didn't even talk too much about your mediumship, but just the fact that that's part of this whole process for you is pretty
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
How you were able to bring all that together in your practice.
I'm unique.
My hat's off to you.
Thank you.
We weren't allowed to do that back in the 90s.
I believe that. Yeah, no,
We had to be very
at all.
careful. And you guys, I was
Yes.
very careful. So now I can talk
Yes.
about everything. Yeah. So final words that you think would be important for the audience to hear tonight as we leave them as some kind of takeaway that I feel like that you guys might want to use right now to start practicing, or in terms of some of the topics of the twin flame, self-love, and divine masculine and feminine. What would you like to say about that?
I would say that if you're searching or you're not sure, that you need to go within yourself, and the best place to start is through meditation. Get to know who you are spiritually, get to know who your guides are, and start that spiritual journey of yourself, because that's really the most important part of the journey. outside of healing, but knowing who you are spiritually and consciously.
I love that. Notice you didn't say anything even about the twin flame or soulmate concept, because guess what? It starts there instead. So, Amber, I want to thank you for being a guest on this episode with us. We really appreciate having you here. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm such a fan. So I'm like fangirling out right now.
Oh, yay. Well, she watches these shows too. So it's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm appreciative. So you guys, there you have it. I think Amber hit the nail on the head when she said, really, if you're searching for this twin flame, soulmate, all these wonderful relationships, start with yourself within. Start here and get to know this part of you through the connections you can make through your meditation, connecting with your own spirit guides, and just loving you here. And so until next time, this is Creative Visions TV, and I'm Karen Dahlman. See you again real soon. Bye-bye.